Chelsea fans, we need to talk about Noni Madueke. For weeks, my comment section has been flooded by you guys telling me that Enzo Maresca needs to drop Noni Madueke. Now, me personally, I'm a big fan of Noni. I think he's improved massively, but I don't think that his game is completely perfect. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the 3 reasons why Enzo Maresca needs to drop Noni Madueke as requested by you guys. And make sure you watch the end because I'm really going to need your thoughts and opinions when it comes to the last point. Did you know that 90% of the people watching this video right now are currently not subscribed to the channel? So make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. Make sure you join the community and let's get into the video. Number 1, Noni Madueke is selfish. Now look, I get it. A lot of people have been commenting on my videos and saying Noni Madueke is selfish. He needs to learn when to release the ball. He's never trying to create something. He's always keeping the ball to himself. And I totally get it. One thing we have to understand about Noni Madueke is his role in the game. He is a very traditional winger in the sense that he stays high and wide, chalk on his boots. Every time he gets the ball, he has to beat a man, get into the box, and then try and create something, whether it's a cutback, whether it's a shot on goal. He has to create something. As of November 2024, Madueke has attempted 26 total dribbles. Successful dribbles have been 12, and the dribble success rate has been 46.15%. Now that goes to show that less than 50% of the time he is beating his man and completing these dribbles. So I understand the frustration, especially when you look at the left-hand side, when you have players like Pedro Neto, Jadon Sancho, or Noni Madueke, who are always looking to beat a man also, but always looking for that easy pass option to create something rather than keeping hold of the ball and trying to drive into the box. These stats mean that Madueke attempts 3.37 dribbles per 90 and successfully completes about 1.56 of them. Now, are there room for improvements for Noni Madueke's dribbling? Of course there is. He is not a perfect player. Do I feel like Noni Madueke is selfish? I don't think so. Yes, I agree he does need to get better on his distribution and learning when to release the ball, but Enzo Maresca has clearly given him the instructions to stay high and wide, get chalk on your boots, beat a man and try and create something. Number 2, he's out of form. Now, a lot of people have been saying that Noni Madueke is living off of that hat-trick he got against Wolves earlier on in the season, and I'm inclined to agree. I feel like he has been off the boil a little bit. I still think Noni Madueke has played well across the season, but there have been a few games where he's been increasingly frustrating to watch because he doesn't release the ball enough and the dribbles haven't been as successful. However, I will give him credit for the defensive work he does, which does go massively unnoticed. Now, it does seem that Enzo Maresca would pick Noni Madueke even if he had one leg. He absolutely loves Madueke on that right-hand side, and he has come out and said that it's whoever performs best in training and who is best suited for the game. And I do believe there are certain games where we don't need Noni Madueke on the right. He could be better utilised coming off the bench, or he needs to be swapped a lot sooner because, again, he's not playing amazing every single game. Out of the 11 Premier League games this season, Noni Madueke has played in all 11. He has started 10 games and was on the bench for 1. And this just reaffirms the love that Enzo Maresca has for Noni Madueke. Now, me personally, I really like Madueke. I think he's a very good winger and he has developed a lot since last season. I feel like he's a lot more physical. He's got quicker. When he beats his man, he can really drive into the box and create something. It's just his end product and decision making that does need to improve. However, he is still a very young player. Out of the 11 games that Noni Madueke has played, he has scored 4 goals and got 0 assists. Now, 3 of those goals did come as a hat-trick against Wolves, and he played exceptionally well with him and Cole Palmer linking up beautifully in that second half. And one of those goals came against Nottingham Forest when we needed a goal more than anything. A lot of people, myself included, while we were watching that game, were getting increasingly frustrated that he had no end product because he kept trying the same thing. Trying to go down the right-hand side, getting no luck, cutting in on the left-hand side, and having poor attempts on goal. But one of the times that he did try and cut in on the left-hand side and got a proper shot away, it found its way in the back of the net, and he got Chelsea back into the game when we weren't really creating chances against Nottingham Forest low block. Now, thanks to Sanchez and some incredible saves, Chelsea stayed in that game and we drew it 1-1. Which, looking back on hindsight, was a great point for us right then. This season, Nottingham Forest have been playing some great football, so like I said, in hindsight, it looks like a good result, and I understand the frustrations, myself included, but it does pay off if you persevere with it. And just before we talk about number 1, I have an honourable mention, which is submitted by you guys a lot, and that is Noni Madueke's attitude. I personally do not see this agenda that we try and drag Madueke through Every time things don't go right for Chelsea, it seems as though we need a scapegoat. It's either Robert Sanchez or Noni Madueke. And I don't quite understand the Madueke one. Yes, you can say he's selfish. I think he's on the line of selfish. I wouldn't say he is particularly. I think he's doing the role that Enzo Maresca has asked him to do. You can say that he's wasteful, for sure, that there's no way to say that he isn't wasteful. I feel like that is something, a part of his game that he needs to improve on. And I also understand his distribution and knowing when to release the ball needs to improve. He's a young player. But the one thing I don't agree with is Noni Madueke's attitude. He is a youngster that wants to win, and he is loving life right now. He has the attitude that he wants to do better. Everything he does on the pitch and off the pitch is under a microscope. And the prime example of this is when he got substituted against Arsenal and he looked very frustrated and storms off down the tunnel. A lot of people are like, oh, his attitude stinks, bench him, he needs to learn, he needs to fight for his place. Enzo Maresca is picking him because he is the best player in that position currently, whether we like it or not, unfortunately. That's the way that Enzo Maresca sees it. Now, yes, Pedro Neto played on the right-hand side, had a fantastic game throughout on the left and right, and got us the goal. And I think Pedro Neto can be very effective on the right-hand side as well as the left-hand side. But it has come out over the international break that all it was Noni Madueke went straight down the tunnel, went to the toilet, and come back. There wasn't a problem. There wasn't an issue. He does it every time that he comes off the pitch. It's nothing major. And it goes to show that things are just blown out of proportion, very reactionary, by fans and creators. We're also guilty of it. I just don't believe that Noni Madueke's attitude is a reason that we need to drop him. I like his hunger for always wanting to be the best, to always want to try and score, to always want to be the man. We need that level of mentality within this squad. If we are all a team and things don't go well, you need the leaders to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and say, look, we need to get a result. But you also need them arrogant side of things where they go, give me the ball and I'll change the game. If you don't have that, you can't win. And finally, number 3, rotation. So many people have been screaming out that we have a big squad and there are loads of players to rotate, and that's why Noni Madueke needs to be dropped. That's why Enzo Maresca needs to drop Madueke. We have other wingers. We have squad rotation. I'll tell you the problem with this. Enzo Maresca came out earlier in the season and said, this is the rotation that we have. You've got Jadon Sancho and Mykhailo Mudryk on the left-hand side. And then you have Noni Madueke and Pedro Neto on the right-hand side. In the centre, you have Cole Palmer and João Felix fighting for that 10 role. And then up front, you've got Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku fighting out for the number 9 spot. And he wants to keep it that way as much as he can. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, everyone stays fit and they are the positions that get rotated. However, we are well aware that injuries happen throughout a season. And this season specifically, ours won't end until mid-July because of the Club World Cup at the end of the season. Potentially going on even longer with the Conference League and the cup runs that we have. There are a lot of games this season. Injuries are going to happen. Recently, Jadon Sancho picked up a knock in training and he's also been ill, like back to back. So he's not been available. So then you have Pedro Neto and then you have Noni Madueke. You take Noni Madueke off, okay, we'll put Pedro Neto on the right-hand side and then we have to play Mykhailo Mudryk in the Premier League and the Conference League. Now, I'm sure that the same people that want Noni Madueke dropped are also saying that Mykhailo Mudryk isn't good enough to start in the Premier League games. So who do you play on the left-hand side? You could say we'll put João Felix on the left wing. Maresca doesn't want to utilise João Felix on the left wing. And me personally, I don't feel like you get the best out of João Felix from the left wing. He is a centre forward or a number 10, just behind the striker. Some people are saying putting Nkunku on the left wing or even Nkunku on the right wing just to accommodate Pedro Neto on the other side. And I don't understand that. We saw Nkunku play off of the left against Man City in the first game of the season. Completely different type of player. Nkunku is naturally going to drift inside and try and play more central. And he's not going to hug that touchline, try and beat a man like a traditional winger. It's just not going to work. Now, I'm not trying to make this video to say that Noni Madueke is undroppable, because he definitely is. However, Enzo Maresca seems more than happy with Madueke's performances. I'll admit there have been games where we need to pull him off a lot earlier and replace him with someone like Pedro Neto if Jadon Sancho's playing, or maybe move some things around. I understand that, and I don't want to come across as hypocritical based on what I just said last. It does depend on what players we have at our disposal, but I don't want to be seeing João Felix or Nkunku playing out wide when they're better at at the central positions. Now, me personally, I would wait until Jadon Sancho comes back, because then you can have that rotation of Sancho on the left and Pedro Neto on the right if you feel like Madueke deserves to be dropped. But as of right now, Maresca's not really had many options. He's been playing Madueke on the right, Pedro Neto or Mykhailo Mudryk on the left, because they are the left wingers available to him. And he knows that Madueke is going to go do a job. He knows he's got the legs to do the full 90 week in, week out. He doesn't play the Conference League games. He doesn't play the cup competitions because Pedro Neto plays those. Now, Pedro Neto is playing those games. He's also not going to get full 90s in the Prem. It'd be very rare to see him playing 2 games a week every single week with the amount of players we have in rotation. It's the same with Mykhailo Mudryk. I think we can all agree he's not just ready for continuous starts in the Premier League, but he is lighting it up in the Conference League and he's playing in the cup competitions. There are plenty of games for him to play and shine with his ability. And if he pushes into that first team, amazing. It gives Maresca more options and more of a headache when it comes to who wants to play on the wings and who deserves that spot. We may see Pedro Neto get forced onto the right-hand side to allow Mudryk or Sancho to play if they're performing better in training. But as of right now, in the last few weeks, Maresca's not really had an option other than to play other players out of position to accommodate, which then puts the players that are natural in them positions on the bench. So by dropping Noni Madueke with no real like-for-like replacement for anyone that's up to standard that Enzo Maresca wants them at, you're then pulling other players out of position to bench more, if that makes sense. But those are my thoughts, and they're the 3 reasons that Enzo Maresca needs to drop Noni Madueke, decided by you guys. These are the 3 reasons you guys have submitted over and over again. Do I agree with them? Yes, to a degree, and I disagree partially as well. I understand where you guys are coming from, but at the same time, there's always 2 sides to every different story. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I love having a conversation with you guys. If you made it this far to the end of the video, there'll be a thumbnail that appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan and enjoy Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.